This is the DartBrain podcast with John Park.
Welcome back to DartBrain, the podcast where we dig into the psychology of darts like it's a 170 checkout, precise, nerve-wracking, and occasionally requiring divine intervention. Today, well, this is a big one. Our guest isn't just a legend, he's the legend, a three-time world champion, the first North American to lift the PDC World Championship trophy, and a man whose voice has become as much a part of the game as the thud of tungsten in sisal. That's right, we're joined by none other than John Part. In this episode, we're going to talk about the mental side of the game that carried him through world titles, career-defining matches, and the pressure cooker of darts at the very highest level. From confidence to self-talk, from visualization to pre-shot routines, we'll explore the gremlins and guardians of John's dart brain. So grab your darts, silence your chimp, and settle in, because this is a conversation you won't want to miss. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, Clint. It's a pleasure to get in on near the ground level of your enterprise here. It's a very, very good concept.
Yeah, it seems to be going well so far. We've got some great guests, obviously yourself included. Let's kick things off by helping people get to know you a little bit better. Let's start with a really simple question that everyone's got sort of an answer to, their origin story. How did you get into darts? And was there a moment you knew this was your sport, or was it a natural progression?
I think it flowed naturally out of sort of a competitive nature, and there was always like a dart board of a sort in the house when I was a kid. So there was always some throwing. I was one of these people that had the little basketball net for the waste paper basket. So I'd have that at the other side of the room. So I'd be crumpling up stuff and throwing it in there all the time. And just the whole idea of throwing and targeting and I guess like you grow up and you see things like Robin Hood and this and that, and it was always fascinating to me, the concept of aim and target and being good at that. It seemed I don't know, when you're a kid, I guess the best word is cool. It's just,
Yeah.
hey, I want to be able to do that, right? Like and you think, well, why not? Just and so the most basic side of darts is throwing something at a target and hitting it, right? So I was sort of interested at that level anyway. I found it relaxing even just to throw it like an hour a day, 2 hours a day. I actually had my board, I was playing 9 feet away for like a year.
Oh, really?
I had a mat, but I didn't bother checking out too much where you're supposed to stand. So yeah. So I
Yeah,
played.
that'd make things more difficult. I
Well,
can't even imagine
you
throwing
do
at
have
9
to
feet.
throw straighter.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
harder.
because I mean, you got, when you're 9 feet away, it's if you're divergent, it's what's normally hits a miss, right? So
Yeah.
it's less forgiving. But yeah, and maybe that strengthened the arm a bit for a while there. But because, like I said, I'd throw for an hour or two, an hour, maybe a day, or maybe not that much, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever a cassette tape ran or something, in my CD player or my cassette player. Um, that's how far back that is, right? So, but yeah, I really enjoyed the skill side of the throwing
Yeah.
primarily at first. So that's kind of what brought me into wanting to play. And then, once I was actually playing, going out against people and that, that just, because I'm competitive, I really ate that up too. Like the actual game part of it, I really love that as well. But it started with just the throwing targeting thing. That's just found that
Yeah.
fascinating, addictive in itself.
Yeah, right on. I don't want to make an assumption about this next question. It's the type of thing that people who know you, and obviously a lot of your accomplishments are global, so people know what they are. But in your mind, what's been the highlight of your career so far?
In my mind, obviously, my world championship wins sort of like they're all distinct and put the highest value on overcoming Phil Taylor because he's still the greatest player I think ever, and he was
Yeah.
so good at the time. And I actually lost a final to him quite heavily when he had 107 average and 72% at doubles in 2001. But players
Yeah.
didn't play like that back then, you know. So if you listen to people today,
That was
uh,
can I lean on that, John? That's the question I wanted to ask because
yeah.
I think you lost 6-0, didn't you, in
Oh yeah, I
2001?
won two legs, 7-0, I
Okay,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, one
Um,
seven.
how do you mentally bounce back from that to come back
Well,
in 2002 and beat the guy?
well, I actually played him in 2001 in the quarters and lost to him as well, which I remember less about. I don't know. It wasn't as bad as the thumping though in the
Mm,
final. But okay, I think to answer the first question, how do I deal with that? Well, I dealt with it because in that 2001 year, I by far had the much more trying and difficult side of the draw.
mm.
I beat the likes of Colin Lloyd, I think Dennis Smith, Alan Warner, Rod Harrington. I mean, I think Rod might have been the world number one on the ranking at the time. And, so I beat a lot of really top quality guys. And, I'm not going to start picking on people on Phil's side, but just take a look. um, so I had the satisfaction of knowing I played a really good tournament, and it was just a horrific result if you're me. But it was also like, wow, what a performance. I mean, we say that sometimes you got to say, well, wasn't my fault.
Yeah, yeah, the other guy had something to do with it.
He did something okay there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still file it under, well, I got to get even somehow, right? Like, but I said I thought I had a tremendous tournament in 2001. I was really, and that probably was a good springboard for me. Despite the obvious thought, well, what a horrific ending. You would think it would be a setback, but I think it was actually quite the opposite because overall it was such a good tournament for me that I felt, okay, I'm moving forward here, and I
Yeah.
think I pretty much did, So, yeah, it was. I'm lucky to say, I mean, it was a pretty good overall experience, that tournament for me. I beat some great players there, and it was a pretty epic semifinal with Rod as well. And I had a big lead, and he fought back, and then we went to the last set, and I pipped him out there.
Yeah,
I
so
held my nerve, as you will, as we were talking about at one
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that you took that 2001 experience, even though the final certainly wasn't what you wanted it to be, but took the positives from that and then built on them into 2002.
Absolutely. It was, I felt like a better player. I mean, it took a couple of years really to maybe get fully up to speed. I mean, certainly, yeah, I lost the quarterfinal to Phil in 2002, but then I think I was still upward swing because I lost the match play final to Phil in 2002, and I was winning 15 or 16-15. And he took a big out on me to make it level, and he got the next two legs to beat me 18-16. But, and then I was also in the final of the Grand Prix with him in 2002. So, I mean, it was definitely very close to beating him
Mhm.
before I did. Um, so, it was a lot closer certainly than 2001. But yeah, it was a graduation process, I suppose.
Okay.
But I felt
Since
like I was really good against everybody else too. Like I was comprehensively taking it out on everybody that I wasn't beating Phil.
Yeah, so let's since we're talking about the World Championships, let's I'm going to run with this. I've got one listener question and a question of my own. Personally, I'm interested in '94. Like when you went over in '94, did you go over in your head with the feeling like I can win this, or did you go over with I'm just going to do my best, get the experience, or like did when you left, when you got on the plane, was it in your head I can hoist that trophy?
Well, it wasn't in my head that I couldn't. Is that a good
Okay,
answer?
yeah, fair enough.
Well, okay, and I'll give you more background. I mean, to qualify, I mean, I basically qualified through playing. There was, although it was just the start of the split, The split didn't really happen till just then as well. So
Right.
through when I started in 1990, really playing tournaments, I played all the BDO ranked tournaments in North America, which was Canadian Open, uh, the Windy City Open in Chicago, the North American Open in Vegas, the Darts America in Atlantic City, and I believe also the Dallas International at the time. I think that's what it was called. It was one of Dallas. So it was like 5 BDO ranked tournaments as opposed to WDF at the time. They had their own, it was weird inside of that. But um and I would pick up points here, there, and everywhere. Did pretty good. And I'd play all the players from there was no two sides. I mean, I had experiences playing all the top players here and there, and um I don't think I did I take any of the titles there? Hmm. I don't remember if I did necessarily, but I certainly did okay. And I had experience, and my I had to play when I went for '94. I was turned out against Ronnie Baxter, who I'd played, I'd say, 3, 4, 5 times in the previous years, and we knew each other well, and we beat each other here and there. Obviously, very short format, but when I was going over to play, uh, my first round match, it's the number 2 seed. Normally, someone might be intimidated as an outsider going in, but I wasn't really because I've been on the board with them a number of times and felt like I could certainly dance the same steps, if you will. And,
Right.
I have every chance to win or lose, right? But at least I didn't feel like, oh,
I'm out of my depth.
I didn't feel like it was a stacked deck like you might do going into playing a number 2 in your first world championship.
Yeah. Yeah, who's well, isn't Littler number 2 right now? I'd feel out of my depth if that was my first world championship.
Yeah. Yeah, but, maybe you played him somewhere else and beat him once, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't
Exposure
think you're
therapy,
quite
right?
the same level of things there, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so this is a curious fact, and I don't know if you pay much attention to this, but I noticed it years ago, and I've always wanted to ask you about it. You won the first world championship in '94. You didn't win your first national title in Canada till '95.
Well, Ontario's hard, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's
You
wild.
gotta
That
get out of Ontario just to get to the nationals.
yeah, yeah,
We had some fierce competitions to make our team back then, and it took me a while just to get on the team, I think. Yeah, no, I mean, all of Canada's great, and it has been, a long time. So geography is our biggest enemy, as anyone Canadian knows, and it's
yeah,
played and tried, and you yourself know what it takes, like, the financial commitment to try and be a top-ranked player on that side of things. It's
yeah,
ridiculous. It's daunting, but, the passion takes you where it takes you, right? I mean, I went through the chase the number 1 thing for a few years, and I'm not sure if I got number 1 in Canada before I won the nationals or not. It might have been simultaneous even. But
okay, yeah,
I was making a lot of trips. I drove to Winnipeg once, from here from Toronto, and,
jeez,
won $400 from my trouble, and I did all that, and I played, tournaments in every province, maybe not the territories, but every province at least, so, and along the way, and, yeah, it really, um winning the nationals felt great. I mean, it was a big achievement, it is a big achievement. Uh, so yeah, that was good, but it is, yeah, like you say, it's kind of funny that one thing preceded the other. But
yeah.
I
All right,
think that in some ways, you just there's more of a process to getting into the nationals. You got to go through all these levels
yeah,
and not have a blip. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And not saying that winning a world championship's easier, but it might be a more direct path if you've done the right prep to get into it.
yeah. Maybe not as many hurdles once you're there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously the difficulty level, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't say the overall quality of darts play has changed a hell of a lot in Canada. I think we always had a lot of really good, solid dart players and playing phenomenally, even back when I was starting.
all right. So another world championship question. This is from a buddy of mine here in Calgary. He wanted to know. I'll just read out his question. I've got it here on Facebook. What do you feel the main reason was for you demolishing Kirk Shepherd in the final that you played him? Was it that that Kirk struggled with the pressure, or was it that you were just that dominant? And I want to layer into this. You come out of a world championship having beaten Phil Taylor. Now you're playing Kirk Shepherd, and does that mentally make you feel differently going into that match?
Well, I mean, there's 5 years in between the 2, so not
Yeah,
really.
fair enough.
But, you know, uh, but I'll say this, yeah, I mean, I demolished him in a sense, but and I'll bring back the '94 final with Bobby George in where when it was 6-0 I won, I guess, but in both those finals, the early sets were contested. They were not just a breeze. I had to
Mm.
survive. I had to play. I mean, there was no red carpet rolled out for me to get to the trophy. But I saw the final once or twice at exhibitions earlier this year against Kirk Shepherd, and actually, it was the memories were a bit dim on it. I just remember I did get the sets lead, and by the time I was flagging a bit, I think I had a big enough lead to put him away, and he got back a couple of sets. But um, I kind of forgot myself just how intense the first few sets of the match were. It's easy when you've had what looks like on paper like an easy win to think to allow yourself to think, oh, it was easy. It was not. He was a good opponent, and it was and another thing about the 2008, it was the first one at Ali Pali, but it was also like they Kirk Shepherd was magical in the sense of he was taking every chance he got, and he had people. Every just seemed like everybody had some match starts of some sort or the other against him, and he kept surviving. Right, so there was a lot of support for him there, and we see loud things and people putting people up. I mean, people were cheering when I missed my first darted double with three in hand, like a loud cheer. I'm like, what? And it was like I hadn't really had felt much like that before because the real transition of what we expect out of a crowd in darts, over the years from the golf crowd to the English football crowd,
Yeah.
which has happened and we were supposed to deal with it. But there was an adjustment process there. So that was all a bit uh, enough to help me just get ornery a bit and play as hard as I could and win. And I also at the start of the match felt like I really needed to get in early because he was a lot younger than me. So I thought he wouldn't have any worries about durability or stamina.
Hmm.
Whereas, I'd been through a few matches and through the grinder. The one positive was it was a New Year's Day final, which is a little unusual. So we had New Year's Eve off. So I had an extra day to recover from the previous rounds, but,
Uh-huh.
yeah, no, there was a lot of reason for me to go into that match, like, very wary and to be aggressive and to really try and get the early stranglehold, and which I did, but it wasn't nearly as easy as it could have been or people might think it was just by looking at the name and the scores.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. What's one thing about your dart journey that most people don't know?
Well, I've always kind of, like, embraced this whole North American thing. I mean, I don't know if it's everyone. What's your biggest accomplishment? This and that, and uh, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I've done very well when asked to defend our territory in
Yeah.
our territory. Like I was the second most successful player in the history of the Desert Classic, which ran about 8 years in Vegas, I think, to Phil Taylor, but. At least I got one, and I beat him in one in the semi and lost to Peter Manley in a final in the other. But I won in London, Ontario when the PDC Full Tour was there. Uh, Again, I won in Cleveland, and I won in the Windy City Open when it was a full PDC turnout, like everybody there. That was in '94. Uh, but I've always kind of felt like, got to defend the territory,
Hmm.
not here. right? I've always tried to be like that. I mean, obviously, I've been involved in places where it never worked out, but, I think I've done that a lot, and I don't think people realize it, they don't understand what it means, and I think a lot of our players, they know what it means, and they like it, and they wanna do it, and they do well. I mean, what comes to mind the most is, that recent years is what's gone on in the U.S. Masters. I mean, we've had some brilliant performances from our guys, and we
Yeah.
want more. Obviously, we want more. But Jeff getting to the final was fantastic there a couple
Yeah.
years ago, or 3 years, whatever it was. Now, time doesn't mean anything when you're my age, right? So, but he was fantastic, and and I think doing it in North America when we talk about, well, there should be an advantage. And I did laugh about it a little when I was in Vegas playing, and I said, "What's it like playing at home?" And I say, and I never really thought about it. Maybe that's where I got the idea. But anyhow, yeah, I was like, "Well, I flew 5.5 hours here. I don't really feel like I'm at home." But yeah, but, but it is home. It is because it's our pool of players.
Yeah.
It's our world. It's our game, and they can't just come in and take it. In my mind, and I guess who are they? Well, like at one point, it was all the English guys, right? So now it's English, Dutch, and whoever else wants to chime in. But yeah, I mean, we want to just let them know it's not an easy ride when you come play here. That's the main thing.
Yeah. All right. Who was your biggest influence or mentor when you were coming up in the game?
Well, Bob Anderson was kind of like, I liked his game style. I liked it. Like he had a kind of a snare and a growl,
Yeah.
and he'd work himself up, and he could hit high outs, and he could, and he just he seemed very classy to me in a lot of senses too. Like he's well, good demeanor off the board, is very friendly, a real class guy, and he was he was my favorite. He's one guy I actually was thrilled to get a hold of a set of his darts. Like I bought in a store somewhere, and oh yeah, I got these. I never used them. I still got them somewhere, but yeah. So and then he became a friend, and so I got to know him a little better. Unfortunately, we never get much chance to see each other these days, but hopefully, could put that right. But it was always a fun playing against him. I mean, I had a respect for all the old guard, if you will. They played in the '80s, and but to me, I think I related to him more than any of the others.
Okay. And at this point in your career, what's your personal definition of success in darts?
My Okay, well, I think we established it's not averages.
Mm,
It's winning matches, winning
still winning.
titles.
Yeah.
Winning is the thing, right? And um, yeah, I think it's the beauty of it that the game is such that you manage yourself, and you're your own coach in a lot of ways, and you have to be when you're in a match. We're not allowed to seek advice outside or anything. Is I don't think it's not like tennis where you look over to your coach or something, or to have a word. I don't even know what they're allowed to do in that sport. But in any case, you really are all alone, and you got to manage it, and you got to just find a way to have the peaks at the right times, and the valleys when they don't matter. And but winning, that's winning. You win when you're like that. I mean, there's the alternative is just you're so damn good, you blow people away every time, and that would be nice. But for
Yeah.
most of us, you got to find ways to win and be a winner.
Okay. Right on. Let's transition into some listener questions here. First from Todd Strickland out in BC. What does Canada need to do to get a PDC Canada Darts Masters? Obviously, there's the US Darts Masters, but it seems that we probably have the depth to do something like Australia, New Zealand. But right now, we've only got New York. So, do you think that will ever happen where there's a Canada Masters and a US Masters?
Well, I think that was always something that was talked about. I know in the early years of the Vegas US Masters. I mean, I was kind of like searching for the invite as a pro player, as it still was sort of significant up there. And,
Mhm.
they said, well, we might have one in Canada. We're looking at one in Canada and we're going to do that. And that never happened.
Right.
But I don't think it was through lack of interest on their side. I was just, I guess whatever things needed to align never did align. And I think the hardest thing about running a World Series event or even a Premier League event is where's the audience coming from?
Mm.
How are you filling a room, say, of 3,000 people that are interested, to have any clue what's going on? I mean, it really is kind of a tricky business to get to that. I mean, they've done really well with putting that U.S. Masters in that room at Madison Square Garden and filling that up, and it actually has the feel of a real darts event. I mean, for all the years they had the Desert Classic in Las Vegas, it never was quite the right atmosphere. They did fill a full room in some of the instances, but it wasn't quite the same. But you're getting more feeling like that with how it's going now. So I don't know. I think the answer is probably something like. You gotta take it where people know darts the best, like, and I think in a lot of like, the general population-wise, maybe that's like Newfoundland or something, just
Yeah, yeah.
go somewhere where people are genuinely excited just to go watch and know who it is and why it is, and you're gonna sell a few thousand tickets and have a full room. I mean, that's what's important.
Yeah, can you imagine a World Series event in St. John's? That'd be a
I
riot.
I think it would work. I
Yeah,
definitely think it would work. Yeah, I mean, uh, why not? I think it would
awesome.
work easier. You think, well, the biggest city in Toronto and that, and they got all the facilities, this and that, and potential venues perhaps, but I mean, they're all going to be astronomically difficult to price wise, whatever, just and then you got these, again, you have this problem of who's actually turning up to watch and buy tickets.
Yeah,
And unfortunately,
gotta sell
because,
tickets.
I mean, we have this lovely thing in the game of darts where we can stream all these live darts now, whether it's PDC or something like Modus Super League or
Yeah,
CDC or whatever it is. There's a lot of out there, but you know what? It doesn't really. It's great for darts fans or darts players that exist, but I don't know that it does anything towards growing the pool of darts fans. Like, how do you know? I mean, end of the day, um, the in England, I mean, it's pretty much on real television and like, 'cause Sky Sports has it. Um, and there's been times a lot. I don't know now what the BBC might have or not have, but it was on terrestrial television, as they call it, and so people would get exposed just because it was on the telly,
yeah,
right? So yeah, that's the problem. As wonderful as all the streaming of darts is these days, it doesn't really overcome the basic issue of how do you permeate into the basic population that this is worthwhile watching or what it is.
yeah, fair
And
enough.
and I don't think anyone has those answers really. And that's the I think that's the trickiest part of cracking the North American market, if you will. And when I say market, I mean the fan market.
Yeah.
Even in
Okay.
for Canada. I mean, it's like I was again, I'd say like you go where it's best known, which is probably Newfoundland, you know, per capita there. Probably more people know Phil Taylor and Luke Littler than
Yeah.
anywhere else in Canada.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of darts in Newfoundland, even just like kitchen darts and shed darts, and they got their 5-man leagues where they just play team games of 5 players. They do all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, well,
They love it.
and half the people that play for all the other provinces are from there in the first
Are
place.
from Newfoundland to begin with. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Right on. A couple of, I think these are silly questions. I'm not 100% sure. But Davey Main would like to know who the best roommate you've ever had was.
Yeah, Davy in the last month or two. I mean,
Yeah. Right on.
guys,
And Jason Smith out of Nova Scotia, Smitty, uh, wants to get your take on Weird Al.
Weird Al.
Yeah,
Which Weird Al? You mean the singer Weird Al?
Yankovic. Weird Al Yankovic, I think.
Yeah, okay, that Weird Al. Yeah, like yeah, I love it. I mean, you know you like it when you come up with your own when you sing alternate lyrics to just about any song just because it's fun.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm into it. Yeah, I like it. I think he missed out on a few, really, I'm guessing through whichever platforms he uses, he probably gets a lot of people giving him suggestions he does not want.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if I didn't know better, I could be one of those people.
Yeah. That's wonderful. A more serious question here. This is from Robbie Mills in Alberta. You've achieved things some people could only dream of, from becoming a world champion, riding the highs and lows. How do you deal with things mentally going forward?
As a competitor, as a person, I mean, yeah, you got certain things in the bank of accomplishment, and of course, it's a good feeling, and um, I mean, it's funny, we see all these sports like there's a certain amount of it, like you wish you'd done it now, and a lot
Mm,
more money or whatever, a lot more prestige, whatever, or you just want to compete in this environment now, just to, so you know, like, well, how would I have done?
yeah.
So there, there's a lot of that sort of thing where, that was then, but this is now, um, but yeah, just to move forward, I just play darts still. I would do what I ever did. I just, take my opportunities where I can manufacture them or get them in, and that's that. Like I'm always happy to compete, and sometimes it works out quite well, and a lot of the time it seems not as well as I would have liked or hoped, but that's got to be the driving factor towards getting results. I mean,
Hmm.
you don't sit there and say, "Oh well, that's just who I am now." Oh, no, that's not who I am. I'm going to win. So that's how I go forward.
Okay, awesome. This one I've never heard before, and apparently is something that you've said at some point. So I'd really like to get your take on it. This is from Clayton Dean. Is it true in cricket if you hit two triple 20s, your third dart should be bull?
No, I don't think I said that. Maybe I did.
No?
I don't know why I would have, but
What's your take on that then?
well, cricket's about who you're playing against too, and it's a strategic game, right? So, um, now at this point, I don't know that maybe you could go bull, but I would likely just go 18s more than anything in this day and age. Now people that know cricket, I'll explain it. So you're gonna get the first dart, you hit the treble 20. Okay, so you're gonna stay there, get some points, right? So if you get a single, you're probably gonna go there again. But no, you get another treble. So you got 60 in there. Now you could go 19s because that's the guy's next target, but there's not a lot of value in a single necessarily. Whereas if you go
Right.
18s, then you've got it into their brain. Well, should I go 18s because he's already got one, or should I go 19s? And in cricket, you always want to create a thought process in your opponent's head of indecision.
Hmm.
The more indecision you concede in your opponent, the better. So I think a single 18 would get me more value than a single 19. I mean, I think a lot of the time you got to think, what does a single do for me?
Yeah.
That's the most important part of your strategy right there, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I can see the advantage to that, especially if you go up and hit 620s in a single 18, maybe they go hit 719s. Well, now you're behind, but you've already got that single 18, which is presumably 18, at least 18 points. Hopefully you hit a triple and get more than that. But it does set you up for an advantage on that next shot to retake control of the game if your opponent does go up and score big.
Yeah. Yeah, again, indecision is contrary to focus. So
Yeah.
if you can create indecision, you're doing a good job. Now,
Okay,
you'd
excellent.
like it to be probably more clear cut because you're like 300 ahead and you just shut everything and they don't have a lot of choice. But as long as you're in the infancy of a game, you still, that's if you can sow And plus, like, again, you have that path if they make the 7 shot or whatever, right? Like, or 9. At least you got a head start on the 18s. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a number of reasons. Like, I think just keeping options open in cricket is a very good thing, and it does sow indecision into your opponent.
Right on. Another question from Clayton Dean here. This one, a little bit more on the sports psychology side of things. Um, have you hit any major plateaus in your career? And what advice do you have for players that feel like they're at a plateau and are trying to get over it?
I think that as you go, necessity is a big driver of performance, and I think it's more about you do in a moment what you need to do, and if you could fire in those 11 and 12 dart games at opportune times, who cares about the garbage ones? Is it And but your average will go up the more often you can fire those sorts of legs in, and the more you win and you get those sorts of really great legs in, the more they'll seem to occur. And then that's how you kind of get past those sorts of plateaus, as you're saying, I guess.
Okay.
I would assume. And but it's you, you don't focus on it so much, and it might sort itself out. Maybe I would say
Yeah.
when it comes to like numbers, it's they're tricky. They're and numbers can tell any story. We like with Wayne Martel and that I work with in that. I mean, you could twist numbers any which way to mean anything. It really can. And Rod Studd as well. He's one of these. He'll tell you that. He was another guy I work with in the commentary, and it's you tell your own story with your numbers, and don't let them tell you a story.
Okay. I like that. Uh, a few more questions here. This one's from Mark Granger. Do you or did you change darts often, or have you consistently stuck with a similar barrel and setup?
I've been pretty close to it, but with every sponsor I've had and that, they all eventually they want you to use their barrels, right?
Yeah.
So, and they can't just copy the last barrels you had in most instances. So you got to have some sort of change, and I don't like it. I really don't. I don't think it helped me. In fact, I'm using a dart now, which I think it's as closest to what I had in the mid '90s, is weight wise and shape and
Hmm.
everything. So, uh, I don't want to get too far from that. I believe in muscle memory and making things work. And I think the more you change, the harder it is to have that tier of ability where you your physicality can take over in those situations we were talking about a lot earlier, where you're nervous and you're gone. Well, how do you perform in those circumstances? Well, you got to rely on all that instinctual knowledge of, when I say instinct, it's probably the wrong word, but the learned knowledge of what you're dealing with, and you're just able to do it without really thinking about it too much.
Yeah. Okay.
It feels
Uh,
natural, if you will. That's what I mean. It feels natural because you've worked at it so long.
right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you make the change, there's an oddity there,
Yeah, I
something that
mean,
doesn't feel quite
obviously
right.
there's guys that, I think anybody could probably people have different throws. Like, I can't use a short dart. I have a long grip, so I can't do that. But I mean,
Yeah.
I could any long setup, I can throw a dart probably, and after a while, probably throw pretty well. But I don't think I want to have my house on the line after like 5 days of using them.
Yeah. Fair enough. A quick question or a question from Scott McCrae here. Did you practice or play with other PDC pros and rivals to stay sharp in between events, or was it better for you to avoid practicing with them to try and maintain a strategic or psychological edge?
Well, I have been times where I've been in England and staying over between events, like weeks or something, and I might have the odd practice, but no, not overly so. And I don't think much is um, I spoke about when you practice, you should always want to win, and but that's more internal and that. And I also said you wanna be pushed, so, yeah, I think it's good to get that sort of opportunities if you have one to take them and see where you are. Um, but you wouldn't wanna go somewhere and you felt uncomfortable and just get completely bashed. I mean, that's not gonna help you moving forward either, right? So,
Yeah.
as long as you
Yeah.
feel up to it, I think it is a good idea.
Okay, excellent. Last question here from the fans. This one's a little bit interesting. It's from Nick Schradell. I'm going to read exactly the way he wrote it. Really, what the heck is with Darth Maple? Where did it come from, and why did you stick with it? The music, even.
Well, I love the music, but, not necessarily just that theme, but, John Williams, he's great. I mean, how many great movie themes has he done? But the first album from the first Star Wars movie is fantastic, and, in any case, yeah, I liked, I didn't like my BDO nickname, which Martin Fitzmaurice, the MC at the time, was giving me, which was the Mountie, which it only came out of his mouth, and it was his idea. You know, it wasn't the most clever thing, and, in my mind, but, yeah, I guess, there was Darth Maul was the newest Star Wars character on the scene about the time I was just trying to change gears and come up with something different when I went to the PDC in '97. Uh, so, yeah, I came up with that, and it's like, "Okay."
Yeah,
Darth Maple. It sounds silly too, and I'm kinda proud of sounding silly.
yeah.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and you're an
It's
imposing guy. You're like you wear all black a lot of the times on stage. You're an imposing guy. You've got the walk-in music. Like it does the whole thing sort of works together.
well, it's funny though, like, my stage persona is kinda like that, but I'm more of a goofball off the stage. People liked it a lot. They liked the walk on. See, the walk on was never really necessarily something I enjoyed or liked doing. I always wanted to just play darts. Right? I'm a competitor. The entertainment side of it wasn't always the foremost, but the people running the darts, the Sky people at the time, before I was part of that, they loved if they could. They had the walk on girls too, so they would get a theme and join in what the audience was doing with all the costumes and stuff, and so I'd have some producer in a Chewbacca costume and this and that, and they walk up with me, and it made it a lot more fun, I think, for the crowd. It was fun,
Yeah.
and I think the walk-ons are supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah.
Like I say, I kind of had a hard time bridging the whole "I don't want to have fun right now. I'm about to play this game I want to win"
Yeah.
thing. I had,
Yeah.
I had to deal with this sort of stuff, but. Um, I think I did really well in that sense at the time, so I don't mind it. And in the Premier Leagues, we used it. I had a lightsaber I brought, and yeah, it was pretty good fun while it lasted. So I don't regret it at all. Of course, when you do something for like 3 decades, it can feel stale at times.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks for everyone who sent in those questions. Some serious, some hilarious, and all of them brilliant. Let's shift gears into the heart of this conversation. John, I want to dive into the psychology behind your success and explore the gremlins and guardians of your dart brain. And let's start by talking about confidence. John, you've got 3 world championships. Confidence seems like it must have played a massive role in your success. Uh, how did how did you build and maintain belief in your game at the biggest moments? And what advice would you give players who struggle with self-doubt?
Well, okay. Well, let's go to the beginning of that sentence. How do you build the confidence? So for me, I mean, yeah, I think you got to go to the beginning of it. How did I become a confident dart player? Well, I had a dartboard at home, and I just was, as I related earlier, I was just throwing a lot, and I knew the rules, and I was trying to get better, and I think I kept averages and stuff. Like I'd play best of 7 or whatever I was doing. I
Yeah,
forget now exactly, but I'd have so many darts or whatever each, depending how I set the target, but in any case I was doing that like an hour a day for, I don't know, 3, 4 years. And then by the time I went into the real world seeking to play like a dart league in '89 and stuff, I found out I was a lot better at actually throwing a dart than most people that that was their hobby, or
Mhm.
even if they competed in small tournaments and stuff. I was a lot more proficient actually just throwing a dart because I put the time in, and and you soon realize that most people that play darts, it's just a hobby recreation to play league. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only time they throw. They turn up and they throw. So even though they have some sort of capability, they're not really very polished. So I think I realized this right away, and that gave me a confidence right there. Just because I put the work in, I had that gave me confidence against the broad spectrum of who I was competing against early on. So then you start winning a lot there. Not all the time. I mean, you still have to learn how to compete and stuff like this, and you got to go through being nervous and performance expectation because I think I'm throwing better, but I don't want to lose because I don't know what I'm doing or something. And well, in any case, so the next stage is actually confirming by winning that you have
Yeah.
that capability. And then you build that up, so the first thing is the performance throwing performance ability, and then the winning performance ability is the second thing, and that's where you build up, and that winning performance ability, uh, you build that from the smallest levels, the league and small tournaments to big tournaments and ranked tournaments and really big ranked tournaments. Like
Yeah.
you just and playing players you seen on TV. What a test of your nerves and your skill and everything else.
Yeah.
One of the dumbest things I ever did. It's 1990 was my first Canadian Open I played in Toronto, and, my first game I get called against somebody, I don't know who it is, I forget now, not relevant to the story, but I'm looking around to get a chalker because 'cause I'm not too experienced in this anyway, and who do I see but Phil Taylor, who I don't know, I've never met at this point, and I say, "Phil," because I probably watched him on, like, the rebroadcast, like, a month earlier. Can you chalk my game, please?" He says, "Oh, sure, mate. Yeah, no problem." Comes right over. Well, so then I'm trying to throw darts in this first ever Canadian Open match I've ever played, and I'm nervous as hell. I want to throw good in front of the world champ, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what did I do that for? I did win the match, but it was like, whoa, why did I do that? But yeah, but it got my confidence going. Maybe I was confident in the first instance just to ask the guy, like I don't know if that's me as a person or a dart player or what, but yeah, it wasn't too smart in maybe doing that, but yeah, I got away with it. I think I lost the top 32 or 16. So I won a few games, but
Yeah.
in any case, yeah, it's building the confidence up it starts with your ability to throw a dart. It starts with being better than most people in the room. Then you're pretty confident. But then you got to back it up with the winning. You
Mhm.
do have to win. It's not, you know, you might be able to throw more 180s than anyone else, but if you're not winning, what's it worth? Because
Yeah.
it's a package, right? It's 180s, doubles, timing, outshots. There's a lot goes into being a good dart player, and there's a lot of things that dart players can be good at, and maybe they're not good at a different aspect. So, but yeah, the confidence in my mind, it's the two-step process of throwing ability, and then you got to convert that into winning. And
Okay.
the winning, if you're winning, that builds your confidence very well. I mean,
No doubt.
okay, winning matches for a start. So win more matches than you lose. And then I think in my first 3, 4 years going down to the States, at least, I don't think I won a tournament. I was in like 5, 6, 7 singles finals before I won one. And then I broke that through, and I started winning probably more than I lost when I got to a final. But it was sort of a barrier there. Like it's different. You get nervous in a final. I think I always thought it was because every other match you play, you're playing to play again. Whereas you play in a final, that's your last match.
Yeah.
So I thought I
That's
was letting
true.
myself down. I don't know what it was in the end, but I got past it eventually.
Yeah. Clearly. All right. Here's a question about self talk. What kind of self talk did you use during matches? When were you more of a calm yourself down type of player, or did you use self talk to fire yourself up?
Well, a little of both, maybe. I guess you kind of learn all the tricks, right? I would try to fire myself up more, not in a moment like with the sneer or this. What did I call it? The snarl. Yeah, and just get aggressive and take on a shot, like especially when you have three in hand and a double,
Mhm.
and yeah, okay, just go on and attack that double. You don't want to be like taking little stabs at it. You want to go and drive the dart through the heart of it, right? That's the best way to throw. Um, so yeah, I probably use you know, the whip more than the calm down. But on the other hand, one of the things that can really derail you is if you make a really big shot to win a leg or something where you just that adrenaline flows through you. You want to keep it in check. You don't want to like let it go out and celebrate too much because then it really starts flowing. So you
Mhm.
try and just keep your cool to smother it a little bit before it overruns you. So there are instances like that. So you just kind of take a breath and try to calm yourself a little bit. And these are good instances, but you don't want a good instance to turn into a bad thing because you kind of get too excited.
Yeah, you put yourself off. I have that conversation with some of the young players around here fairly often. Is you don't want to get yourself too hyped up.
No.
Like there's you can't maintain that. And so if you play your best when you're in that place, or if you taught yourself to play your best when you're in that place, you can't stay there.
Well, and the best example of where this occurs, I think, is Nine Dark Games, and not even hitting them necessarily, but just being in the a chance at one gets
Yeah.
people really hyped up, right? They get really excited and they lose control of their emotion and their adrenaline, and they just kind of lose it. To be fair, for a leg or two after because they lose their composure. And why not? It's a really exciting thing. I mean, it's understandable. I'm not faulting anybody, but it's something where, yeah, you want to like maybe just not pretend it doesn't matter, but don't embrace the emotion and like get too excited by it. But yeah, I think you see it in all sports. You know, the really successful greats, they have that discipline and self management in the most exciting of situations. They look very calm.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Transitioning into imagery or visualization, many athletes use mental imagery before performing. Did you ever use visualization, like seeing the dart land before you threw it? And if so, how did that practice influence your performance?
Um, yeah, kind of. I think I don't know if I actually visualized the dart leaving my hand and going through the air, but kind of visualize the dart as it hits where I want,
Yeah.
and then the next dart. And I had a thing. I found it successful in a little bit of time killing between visits, and I would just I knew my outs by I would just say them to myself, and I'd say it fully, like so 154. So I'd say triple 20, triple 18 tops, and I just keep repeating that to myself. So it's not a visualization necessarily, but it's I'm reinforcing the thought. This is what's going to happen. Verbal's the wrong word. I don't know, but it's just knowing exactly what you're going to do and repeating that again and again as a mantra sort of thing. Now, saying that, you should also know if you miss on an adjacent segment what you're going to have left. I mean, if you're at the stage where you're not sure, I think you should. That's probably the priority, maybe be more like to know what your next start's going to be for any target in the area where you're throwing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think about it after. So you get more of a flow to your throw. It's most younger players, most newer players, they're rhythm players, and they need to just sort of have a flow, or they get really stymied. Um, so that's important too. Is that, but I found if I could just had a mantra of whatever the out was running through my head over and over again, it A blocks out other thoughts, and B hopefully I make that true. You know, and
Okay.
isn't it, you know, on the side of thinking something, your brain doesn't understand negatives. So when you don't want to hit a three, don't think to yourself, don't hit the three. Your brain
Right.
hears hit the three.
Yeah.
That's what your brain hears.
Here's
There's
hit
no such
three.
thing as a negative in your brain's universe. So you just have an idea of something, and your brain helps you make that idea, whether it's good or bad. So yeah, I mean, if you always just thinking to yourself what you want to do, not what you don't want to do.
Perfect. Pre-shot routines. You alluded to this already earlier when we were chatting. You played under the brightest lights and darts. Did you have a consistent pre-shot routine, and how important was it for keeping focus and blocking out distractions like crowd noise or nerves?
Well, I mean, I've gotten to the point where I pretty much trust. I don't have to watch the other player throw. I know,
Mhm.
I just go about my business till it's my turn to throw again. I obviously pay a lot of attention to the result of the throw. I got to know where I am in a match, but to watch them deliver the darts, or I don't do that. Try not to.
Mhm.
I like having a stroll. I like when there's a lot of area to stroll, and I just
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
maybe I'm saying a mantra to myself, like, yeah, whatever I want to hit, whatever. But I just sort of have a general feel for a match at a certain point where I know how long and how many steps I'm taking, and I'm just kind of back when I need to be back, and it's my turn. Um, some people like if they're on the stage, you go over, have a drink of water if it's a slow player, whatever it is you're doing, and maybe
So
part of a
you would
good
address that.
routine. You check your equipment, make sure. I sometimes fail to do so. I sometimes I have a stem that's loose, or my flight's half off, and I haven't checked it, and then that ends up screwing up a dart because I didn't do the
Yeah.
basic routine check between every throw. But that's a good way actually checking your equipment. That your stems are tight and your flights are on properly is a good step so you don't lose some darts. But it's also a good step just to keep you not thinking about negatives.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus on something specific, something that isn't to do with the match, and just, I don't want to say kill that time, but manage that time in between the shots so you don't have the opportunity to wig yourself out or something like that.
Yeah, you want to try and use the time, whether it's what you're thinking or what you're doing. You want to use it in as positive a manner as possible. And if you can prevent errors that could have been prevented, that's useful when it comes to checking your equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes you might find you even have like a rip flight and you have to go change it. So, and you shouldn't rush if you do. You just go do what you got to do, and you'll get to the board when you need to get to the board. But um, yeah, I mean, it's certainly an area where I know I've lost darts, and to this day, I still do it time to time. Where I was playing a league game last night, and I threw a dart, and I handled the shaft, and it was loose, and it kind of spun the shaft, and it came out of my hand funny, and it was a horrid dart. But um, I really shouldn't be doing that. I should know that. I should check them all, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about technique. Your throw is one of the most recognizable in darts history. How did you go about refining your technique over the year? And what role did discipline and commitment play in maintaining consistency?
Okay, well, I mean, I crafted my stance and arm mechanics to be as two-dimensional as possible. So my eye, my arm, my shoulder, everything involved with the throw in 2 dimensions. Okay, I'll get in there, and I'll end from my base of my heel where I'm my pivot foot, whatever. So that was my concept, was to make my mechanics plane, so 2 dimensions rather than a 3 dimensional thing. I figured if you could take a dimension out of it, it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
A lot easier to work in the realm of 2D than 3D. So that was the goal of my mechanics, and, obviously, I watched some stuff of, like, players, and you see what they're all doing, at the time, whatever, get the elbow out, the extension, and so I sort of learned from watching the good players at the time on TV, I guess, and,
Yeah.
um, so I crafted the mechanics, and now as far as the grip and release and that side of it, I've just thought whatever feels natural, pick up the dart and throw it.
Yeah.
And go with that, as natural as possible. So I never really put a lot of thought into that. As it turns out, I think I ended up with something where it's a really kind of a longer. The only one I could think of off the top of my head that was sort of similar, and I wasn't copying him, was Eric Bristow. He had sort of the same thing going on.
Okay.
I think he handled like the point a little bit or something. He had a very kind of a long, similar grip, but there's not a lot of players that kind of hold the dart like I do. Other than that I've noticed.
Okay.
But again, I would think for anybody, being natural seems to me it feels right. It's going to be easier.
Yeah. When you were down in a match, maybe behind a set or facing a tough opponent, what mental strategies helped you fight back rather than fold under the pressure?
Uh, I guess just a kind of impish in a way. I kind of delight in the thought of the comeback and the effect it'll have
Okay.
on them, and if I pull it off, and just a bit of the devil.
Yeah. I
Just
like that. Yeah, yeah. I'm a fan of the
I look at
comment.
the
I've said
positives
this.
of, okay, I'm in a situation now where it could be really good if I come
Yeah.
back and win now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and
Just
I say this to
somehow
players
I
all
should
the
be mad at
time.
myself that I'm down, but I'm more thinking, "Oh, this would be great."
I'll say to players all the time, you can't make a comeback if you never get behind.
Exactly.
You get behind, that's your opportunity to make the comeback. Like, that's the
Mhm.
opportunity to steal a match that maybe you shouldn't have and, like, dig in, go for that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's, and then on the other side of it, I've been the victim of comebacks. Inevitably, you feel like you failed and you did something wrong and you're being defensive. And of course, I try to preach: be aggressive, be offensive, right? And if you don't see a match out in that manner, when you're being defensive because the guy's coming back, it's harder. You
Mm,
almost got to like, no, I don't. He's not. That's not happening. And you just go and you throw a good leg, and it's over. But it's easier said than done a lot of the time because you're getting wrapped up with the audience and everything else, and if you're talking about stage play and that, right? Because
yeah.
there's sort of a vibe going on in these scenarios, right? So, and especially when there's a lot of people watching, that no one wants to be humiliated or to screw up a sure win. I mean, we've seen some horrific things over the years, like not involving me. I mean, this is a commentator, I mean, the thing that comes to mind the most is I think what uh, poor Chris Dobie with Rob Cross twice coming and pipping him out of matches. One in the match play and one at the World Championship. Just ridiculous comebacks. And
Yeah,
it's
Dobie
hard when you're
seems
the guy that gave it up. It really is. And I don't. I'm sympathetic, and it can happen.
yeah, maybe it's just the matches I'm watching or just the timing of it, but Dobie seems to get rolled over when he's got a big lead more often than some other players for some reason. And it's not Dobie. Like, it's not Dobie playing poorly. It just seems like he's got the bad luck of guys just come back at him.
Well, and again, I think it's like you lose your tenacity. You're not being aggressive. You're defending your lead.
Right.
You become defensive, and it's not the best frame of mind to win legs. And ultimately, you're not winning legs, and the guy comes back. Right? It's tough. The I guess what the cliche, the best defense is an offense, or I guess they might do that in reverse too. But it's pretty true. I mean, if you
Yeah.
just stay aggressive and attacking, it's hard for somebody to make much ground on you.
Well, and that's from your perspective. Obviously, you played against them a lot. From a fan perspective, from where I'm standing, like, I mean, that's what Taylor was great at. Was when he got his foot on somebody's neck, he'd press down. It's at least from the outside looking in, that seemed to be a special skill he had. Is if he got up, you were in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, and you say that, and I can't I don't know, maybe it happened, I don't know. I can't think of off the top of my head, Phil Taylor blowing a lead anywhere. I could be wrong.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean,
Not in any big situation, at least. You're like,
well,
never
no,
the
yeah,
world
I mean,
champion
I
finals.
don't think he suffered any, like, memorable comeback sort of losses. I mean, I could be wrong. Hopefully someone can correct us, and we'll send a
Yeah.
message in to you and
Yeah,
say,
so somebody
"Yeah,
will
there was
watch this
this
and they're like,
match
"No,
back."
no, no, remember this one?"
No, I mean, no, I know I didn't beat him a lot, but I beat him a few times, and I think they were all pretty much straight up matches, and I edged him out. Not to say he was never ahead, but not like a big lead. So yeah, I don't know of anyone else either that's to your point. I mean, yeah, I mean he finished people off. There wasn't much monkeying about. Oh, who's he to come back? I mean, he got the job done.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. John, can you describe what it felt like when you were in the zone? Like, were there particular moments or matches in your career where you just felt untouchable? And what allowed you to get to that place?
I think more often than not, when I really felt like I was playing really well, I think the other player was too. I think there
Hmm.
was again, I'll go back to this necessity concept. Necessity can drive your focus or performance,
Yeah.
and, you're just not thinking about it. You have to. They hit 180, you gotta hit 140 or 180. You gotta hit it back. You gotta, just and it seems like you bounce off each other, and I mean, it goes the other way in games too, where you see someone kinda go off, and it drags the other player down with them, like
Yeah. Yeah.
and so but, yeah, I would say the most often I've been in the zone was out of necessity where I'm just playing the match and I was actually, I would say in those moments, I tended to be really enjoying playing because I was throwing well and the other guy's throwing well and I had to throw well. And, you won some of those matches, you lost some of them. But I mean, I used to have matches like that with Colin Lloyd all the time. We could play against each other very well. I don't know if we were like 50-50 or something, but it felt like it. And it was always like really an enjoyable game of darts, right? And whether it was on a stage or not, it was felt like we were both great. And in a zone, if you will, but it just sort of like
You
clicked
were both
balanced and
great.
like, so, yeah, how do you get into the zone? Well, I think, I don't know that you apply. I think you just find yourself there. I know that's not a helpful answer,
Well, it's not. It's not. But
but,
it does sort of highlight an important idea. Like in sports psychology talk, they talk about setting yourself up, doing consistent things that allow you that you've experienced in the past that allow you to get into the zone. So it's watching your performances, paying attention to what's happened, what's allowed you to play well, or what were you doing when you played well. Uh, one thing that I've noticed since I've started doing the interviews on the podcast is a lot of the top players, they're not really thinking about it. They're not stressing about getting into the zone. They're just trying to play their game and let the game come naturally to them, which is maybe a really great piece of advice.
yeah, well, that doesn't sound wrong, and I think that the real lesson to learn for the less accomplished players is and we made the point earlier where you want to embrace a good opponent playing well.
Hmm.
You want that to be a good thing. You want to enjoy that. You want to, okay, now we're playing darts here. Now this is fun. Now
Yeah.
you don't want to like, oh my God, he's on. Like, I don't like it. You can't be negative about it. You gotta relish it and enjoy it. And okay, you might lose, but you know what? You win, you're gonna feel really good. And I think that it players do tend to follow each other one way or the other, and what determines that between if one guy's on and off, I mean, I don't know. I mean, some matches are like that. One guy's just on and one guy's off, but, in the closer ones, I mean, they tend to kind of follow each other even in periods of the match. mean, sometimes you got like what we call the momentum, where one guy is just dumping the guy, and then it goes back the other way. But a lot of the time, they're just sort of dancing leg for leg with each other,
Yeah.
and that's where you really got to sort of think this is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's talk about failure. Yeah, every player has off days. How do you process losses or poor performances? Did you have a mental framework for bouncing back quickly, or was it more about just putting bad days behind you quickly and carrying on?
Well, it's I've had a lot of success, and it's easier for me to say, "Oh, well, I can write that off if I lose or have a bad day, and no matter how horrific." So it's a little hard for me to tell somebody who maybe hasn't tasted a lot of success that how they should handle losing. Like I think you need to a just always credit your opponent's performance, and they did what you didn't do, and it's not their fault. And in fact,
Mhm.
they did what they're supposed to do. So, B, then you gotta like say, okay, well, what could I have done better? What could I have done differently? And but I guess C, the last part of the analyzation of a loss is or analysis, sorry, analyzation. Oh, here we go.
Making
Um,
up words.
they love that over there. Um, not really.
No?
But yeah, is the last part of it is you gotta let go of it. And you gotta let
Yeah.
go of a good performance too. It's not just gonna happen every time. So
Can you
you
expand
you,
on
you
that?
do
Like,
want
what
to
do you
look
mean
at
by
what
letting go of a
okay. First of all, the guy played well, beat me, or he did enough to beat me,
yeah.
or when offered the chance to beat me, he never should have had. He took it. Credit to him, right?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of painful ways to lose. I know you know that. You played long enough,
Lost
right?
lots of ways, many
Yes.
times.
I mean, I think I've lost to just about every player I could imagine, and some of the time it's pretty painful. But you got to credit them. Doesn't matter what the resume is. They beat you, right? So that's part of it. But I mean, you do want to like think, okay, well, was I as prepared? Was I? Excuses is a word where people are. It's like a taboo to have excuses. But I think in terms of analyzing something, like why did it go wrong? I mean, maybe like maybe you didn't get enough sleep. Maybe this or you want to try and get some sound rationalization and try to avoid that happening again, right? So
Mhm.
you want to find your excuses in a useful context. What part of my game wasn't good? I need to practice that more, right? You gotta look at it a little bit, right? I mean,
Yeah.
my scoring needs to be better. I wasn't getting shots for double. Whatever it is, I think you don't want to be vocalizing this to everybody, though. This is in your head.
Yeah.
People,
Yeah, well, when it's in your
like I
head, it's
said,
not an excuse. It's you going through the reasoning of what happened. It's when you start telling everybody that it's an excuse.
well, and I think this excuse making that where it does get verbalized in that. I mean, sometimes, I mean, they're not wrong when they say certain things, or someone says, But again, as a rule, the best time to speak about negatives is after you won, because then you're not discredited for what you're saying.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but you should verbalize. I mean, you should look through it. You learn from your loss and be realistic. Don't make your classic excuses like somebody yelled or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the same room, and is make useful excuses to yourself. When I say excuses, I mean there's no excuse for losing. You don't want to lose, but I mean find the reasons where you didn't perform, where you lacked.
Mhm.
Maybe just get away from that word excuse, but you do need to look at it. I mean, and then okay, but then forget about it. That's done. That game's done. Don't forget about what you need to change, maybe, but just okay. That was irrelevant to me. I don't care. I'll get them next time. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll do better next time. And I will do better next time because I know I need to do this or that maybe differently or whatever. Whatever you've come up with, you got to be introspective. I think. I don't think you can just continually bounce from game to game to game without ever thinking about it and expect to get better. You gotta realize what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the game. The dart scene has changed massively since you first became the world champion. I mean, you even already alluded to that, and the fans going from golf fans to British football fans, from bigger crowds to more media pressure. How do you think modern players can best handle the external distractions that come with the sport today?
Well, I mean, you've got two things going on there. You got your external distraction of during a match,
Hmm.
but probably more predominantly these days, the external distraction of media, social
Sure.
media, all of that. I mean, there's just like you're under a microscope all the time, it seems like these guys. And I think a lot of them, the certain boundaries are respected for players. I mean, I think a lot of them choose what they share about what's going on with injuries or personal life or whatever's going on. Some like to share and others don't, right? I mean, which is fine in my mind. But it's as the money gets bigger and bigger, I think fans and media, etc., they feel like they have got right to know just about anything about anybody, right? So,
Yeah.
and these things keep coming up, and so I don't know. It's a tough scrutiny to be under all the time, and it's really the magnifying glass is there these days. I mean,
Well, and especially for a
how does
player
Luke
like
Littler
Littler.
feel, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's under scrutiny of like no one has ever been in the history of darts, and he's only been playing a couple of years at pro level, so
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's a good thing. Obviously, you get the attention because you're successful, but it's got to be tough. I mean, I can't imagine it. I really
Yeah.
can't. I mean,
Well, there's multiple things for a guy like Lillard. There's his own social media, what he's doing and what he's putting out there, and then there's other people's social media, and then there's the media requests and the demands and things like that. That what sponsors want. Obviously, there's some of it has money in it, so he wants to be doing it, but there's a lot of different stuff now that's happening that he has to deal with. That I mean, didn't exist when you won your first world championship
yeah,
or your
no,
second, for that matter.
no. I mean, I did. I flew home and I was on like few morning news shows. That was media back then.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Hit a bullseye while you're wearing a blazer and a tie. Okay.
Yeah.
And I did somehow, like, yeah, like I did somehow, like, one of the best darts I ever threw at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I think a lot of it is, I mean, like, I'm an old guy. I think at Luke's age, I mean, it's all pretty normal to him. For us being older, I don't wanna put an age on you there, Clint, but, we grew up with it a lot more. When I say grew up with it, grew up with all the change.
Yeah.
And, like you said, what's normal and just in terms of an audience at a venue, I mean, has changed drastically in darts, but the whole world's changed drastically in terms of media and information and how people know things or see things and not always for the better. I mean, there's a lot of kind of bullying that goes on online. Obviously, we all know that, and there's a lot of ignorant people that have a lot of ignorant thoughts, and
Yeah.
they're just plain nasty to people, and they don't know people, but they feel like they should say stuff, and that, and I think that aspect of I don't know how that was. There must have been 30 years ago. There must have been ways that would happen, but I think it was more like I don't know, people mail hate letters and stuff. I don't know, but
Yes.
it seems like a lot more
It was a
rampant
lot more
than
it was
that.
a lot more work to be an idiot.
It was a lot more work, probably. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a lot easier to be an idiot now. But
It really is.
yeah, and all the guys got to deal with it, and I think I think most of them are fairly insulated as can be. But like you say, they get asked and demanded, and they're involved pretty heavily with media of some kind or the other a lot. And if they're not, and they're successful, they're doing well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Because it is a distraction. I mean, it's hard to you just wanna go play darts. You like winning and money and like that, but, I mean, end of the day, you don't need, like, your preparation to be a whole bunch of BS for a week. Okay, who's an example? I guess what's come to mind here, I try to stay off as much as I can. I mean, I don't look at the feed, I look whatever pops up on the first page.
Yeah.
I don't scroll, right? I just, whatever happens to just pop up when before I check notifications, right? Like, you know, that's me. But
Yeah.
and well, some guys, I think like with Joe Cullen, he got involved. He has a history of getting involved with the morons that pick at him.
Oh, yeah.
He's not the only one, but he's the one that I think he comes to mind. And like, I don't know, does he feel better answering and that maybe it's venting, right? Like, I think, he's not the only one for sure. I mean, sometimes you want to vent too, right? And you're right to, I guess, in a sense, but the only problem is the more you answer, the more you're going to get back the other way. It's just like it's perpetualizes itself, like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're
yeah,
not dealing with it. It's just going to come back at you harder every
yeah,
time.
it's sort of like you can't really get out of the loop, but you can make the loop worse. It's easier to make the loop worse than it is to make it better.
Yeah. No doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt.
So I think that, like, just do what you have to do in terms of being a player and wanting to play well, perform well, to keep your mind clear. I mean, I think you just do the bare minimum, I would say. I mean,
Yeah.
unless it's your sort of, I guess some people enjoy, like that's what I was trying to get earlier, is mentioning Luke's age being younger, and he's pretty much all he knows. That maybe maybe he loves it, maybe he's just, it's perfectly normal. Like,
Yeah. Well, even bunting with the bunting effect, his social media, he does lots of stuff with it and seems to really enjoy it. Doesn't seem to
well,
affect
yeah,
his game.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it certainly can work. But I think if you're only on there to see if people are saying something negative about you and then answering it, that you just stay the hell off it. Who
Yeah. Yeah.
cares?
Just no
There'll
value.
always be someone, if they think they can get a rise out of somebody, they will. They'll
Yeah.
try, right? So they might not even have anything against you, but they know you'll snap, so they do because it's fun, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people are horrible.
Such an inspiring interview we're having.
Well, no, but it's true. Not
It
every
is.
person's horrible, but it's like when you say like kids are horrible. Not every kid's horrible, but
But there's enough of them.
kids tend to do more things that are horrible because they don't know better,
Yeah.
right? But then you got the adult kind. They might know better, but they still like it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Last question for you, John. If you had to give one piece of advice to players working on the mental side of their game, whether that's confidence, routines, resilience, or anything else, what would that be?
Well, I would say be a dedicated practicer. Um, don't miss too many days and put a few hours a day. Have some good routines. uh, Chart your progress of what you're practicing. Like, so keep little, maybe averages. I know I don't like averages necessarily, but you can use them in a sense of throwing performance,
Hmm.
perhaps. And, just to see, keep yourself accountable in your practice, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Say you don't even need to worry about averages if you do something like I did in the early days, which is, okay, I'd play best of 7 against 18 darts. So I had 18 darts or I lost.
Yeah.
And then
It's one of my favorite games.
I keep track of when I win or I lose, right? And then you chart that, and you want to get that percentage up.
Yeah.
And then I think in 94, before I went, what I was doing was, if I won, and then I'd be 15 darts. Then if I lost, I'd go back to 18. And you'd have a ceiling for the maximum number, and I didn't have a ceiling low, but you know, if I got to 12, I was happy.
Yeah. I do something similar, except for I don't go from 18 to 15. I go 18, 17, 16, 15. So
Well, there's nothing wrong with
it's
that,
weird
but
because you get
it's
two
not
darts or
really,
one dart in hand, right? Which
yeah,
isn't normal. And really, a 16 is just as good as an 18.
exactly. It's a visit is a visit. It's like why I don't like doubling percentage stats, because if you go to the board, with 32, and whether you take 1 or 3 darts, it's the same 100% in my mind.
Yeah, an opportunity to finish that you took.
Yes.
Yeah, right on. Well, thanks very much for this, Sean. That's going to wrap up this special episode of Dart Brain with the great John Part. What an honor to sit down with the 3-time world champion and hear about your mindset, routines, and resilience that carried you to the very top of darts. Next time on Dart Brain, we'll keep building on these themes, continuing to break down the mental side of the game so you can sharpen your focus, strengthen your guardians, and keep those gremlins in check. So until then, take a breath, trust your throw, and for the love of tungsten, don't let the monkey drive the bus. This has been Dart Brain. I'm Clint Clarkson. Until next time, stay focused, throw with purpose, and train your Dart Brain.